is one of my most, I just think most valuable presentations that we make and most enjoyable for me, because I think this is, I'm just so proud of all of you for participating in contemplating a plan and preparing a plan so that you are able to make some of the decisions and make the things happen that you want to have happen as you go through this journey of aging. And I'm right behind you, or I'm right with you. I too am aging, as we all are. But I just can't thank you enough for being engaged here. I think we've got some great tips and suggestions. And if nothing else, we're bringing to the table the opportunity for you to kind of contemplate, what are my choices? What are my decisions? What do I want? How do I want this to play out? And I would contend to you, and you'll hear this throughout our presentation this afternoon, that, you know, not making a plan really is not your best bet. Winging it and then landing in a crisis, you tend not to make the best plan or the best decisions when you're in the midst of a crisis. So all the better to be prepared just a little bit so that your wishes are known, they're acted upon, and they're honored. And so that's what we really, if there's no message at all, that's what we really want to get across to you, the big picture. And then we've got some good intimate details here for you to contemplate. We've got some resources for you as well. Maureen mentioned our contact information will be at the end of the presentation, but we also have an attachment that Maureen will get to you. And then if you have further inquiry, we have a couple other items we can get to you as well. So that being said, let's dive in and talk a little bit about what we're going to address today. So we are going to talk about your legal documents, and I'm not an attorney. I have a son who went to law school. That's about as legal as I can get, but I will tell you that your legal documents being in place and reviewed from time to time is a critical element of getting your wishes and your wants made known to those who are important to you. So I think critical for us to ask that question and for you to do a little homework on, is your legal house in order? We're going to talk about financial matters. You know, what does it look like? I can give you some really baseline numbers in regards to what things cost as you go through the aging process, pardon me, and what's real and what isn't real in regards to financial matters. But have you put your financial house in order as well as your legal house? We're going to talk a little bit about health checkups and health check-ins and just a health check overall. Again, this aging process is not simple. It's not easy. Some of us fly through easily and with ease and you know, relaxation and joy. Others struggle. And I was just listening to a presentation not long ago, and you know, I think all of us would really love just when it's right, when it's our time, to just not wake up. It doesn't happen all that often, folks. So keeping your health in check and knowing what options you want when that health, if that health takes a turn, and what you want as a result of that, that change in health status. Again, understanding what is covered cost-wise, who provides what services, why people don't provide services. We're gonna touch bases on that. We really suggest you create a toolbox because again, this is a journey and it isn't linear. It weaves and bobs and changes occur. So you've got to have a toolbox to address plan perhaps A, plan B, plan C, and we want to help you to create that toolbox as it might be. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and really what this impact has meant. And I know we're coming out of that fog, and I'm as happy about that as anybody. But, you know, last year, our entire mantra was, you know, we talk to people continually about what happens when you're in a crisis. Well, I'll be honest with you guys, last year we were all in a crisis, and it was COVID. And now we add on a broken hip or a required move, and now you're in 2 or 3 crises. So, or crises. So we're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and what impact that gave to the industry, and going forward, you know, how do you deal with and what do we do with resurging, what to expect and what not to expect. And then you guys, you'll find, and I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, but end of life conversations are so critical. And the gift you can give your loved ones is to have these conversations. They're not fun, they're not easy, but they are so critical to, again, this entirety of a plan and the ability to have your wishes met. And if by chance you land in a situation where you cannot speak for yourself, your wishes are known from top to bottom, from beginning to end, as to what you want and how you want this journey to go for yourself. So important and critical, definitely. One of my very favorite quotes, particularly pertinent to this: old age is like everything else. To make a success of it, you've got to start young. So thank you, Theodore Roosevelt, for giving us those words of wisdom. You know, we're born and we're already on our trajectory of aging, but we spend a lifetime attempting to be as independent as we possibly can. And then all of a sudden a switch is flipped and everybody in your world and in your community says, would you mind being dependent? We'll take care of that. We'll take care of this. We'll take care of that. It's a tough switch. So, again, if you plan, if you articulate your plan, if you make it known and you find your peace with it, you make the adjustments along the way, then I think you are going to have the closure and the ending that you want. I'm a big fan of the following statement, and this is a tough statement. I hope in all of our lives we've had a lifetime filled with what we wanted. As we age, we tend to get what we need. And the bargaining between the two, that want and that need, is a really tough bargain. So by making a plan, articulating a plan, hopefully that bargaining is a little more palatable. It is something that you can swallow, something that you can acquiesce to, and that you can alert your family members to. I had this conversation with my adult children, and I had it starting about 10 years ago. Granted, I'm in the industry, and they think I'm kind of a little bit overkill and a little bit negative and a little bit glass half full. But really, the gift I can give them is to plan, so they don't have to question, they don't have to wonder, what did mom want? This is a gift you give to your loved ones. So again, old age is like anything else. You got to make a plan if you want to be successful. So thank you, Teddy Roosevelt, for that, for those wise words. So again, the importance of a plan. There's so much of the aging process that we do not have any control over. So we have to make those plans for every contingency known to mankind. I wish I could tell you that I have this glass ball and I can look into it and I can tell you just what your journey is about. I can't. If I were that good, I wouldn't be on this presentation. I'd be sitting on a throne somewhere. I'm not that good, and no one is. But what I can talk to you about are the multitudes of approaches that you can make to getting some hold of your planning and of your wishes and of your desires. And it is true. Most of our clients come to us in an unmitigated crisis. You do not make the best decisions in crisis. You tend to make better decisions when you've gathered your information, when you've educated yourself. I'm even delighted if you take your plan and put it away for a while and you don't need to reach out to us. That's a fantastic end result. But just knowing that plan sits where someone knows where it is, or it sits in the works, it sits with the tools that are necessary to exact the plan, it's really a job well done. And I will tell you that day in and day out, we are approached by individuals who either have a limited plan, have a plan that doesn't have legs, or have no plan at all. So the planning portion is the gift that you give to others. Having a plan can quell the crisis from happening or blooming so large that you don't feel you can get out from underneath it. So again, we applaud you for I applaud you for being here and giving us this opportunity to just think about your futures and get your ducks in a row. So one of the things that we feel really passionate about is that legal house. I am not an attorney, but I can refer you to attorneys. I've been at this a good 25 years. Elder care management has been at care management for the last 11 years. I have 7 colleagues. We have collectively created an abundance of vetted resources that we are happy to share with you. And one of those really being critical would be getting your legal house in order. So some of the legal documents that are necessary would be the powers of attorney and designating those individuals. There are 2 main areas of power of attorney, one being the durable power of attorney for finances. So someone who can help you if you cannot write out your bills, make sure that your obligations are met, making sure that you don't have your electricity or your water turned off while you're perhaps doing a short stay in a skilled nursing facility. Somebody who can make sure that your financial world carries on if you're unable to attend to those details. The other side of the coin is a power of attorney for your healthcare decisions. And this is, again, another very, very important arena. If you're unable to speak for yourself, then it's really important that you have someone designated to follow through on your wishes. And let me tell you that just by nature of the fact that you're power of attorney, or you've assigned a person to power of attorney, doesn't mean that they are the decision makers for you. They will follow your lead. You get to make the decisions as it might be, but they are going to follow the lead that you have set to make sure this works and your wishes are met. That's the important side of power of attorney. When there is no power of attorney, then you will find legal systems step in and make decisions for you that perhaps were not of your constitution. So speaking to this, I would highly encourage you to designate these individuals. And I was just on a presentation, as I mentioned, and there was an attorney speaking, and she said, do not do dual power of attorney in either of these capacities. So I'll pick on my own family as a perfect example. I'm a lucky gal surrounded by 4 brothers and no sisters. I've got 2 older, 2 younger. When my parents were going through the challenge of their aging process, we made one of my brothers the power of attorney for finances. He's a financial guy. He liked the numbers. He didn't like the warm, touchy-feely stuff. My dear sweet other brother said, Gail, why don't you be power of attorney for healthcare? Because you're kind of in the industry and we'll just take direction from you guys. So we split our duties. But what we put in place were backups behind us. If I, God forbid, got hit by a bus, my youngest brother was then the power of attorney for healthcare. We did not share that responsibility in a linear capacity. We shared it in a tiered capacity. And that is the way they really suggest that you set up a power of attorney. So getting that power of attorney in place and just knowing who those individuals are. I can't tell you the number of times where we'll get someone who is now calling on their power of attorney, and the power of attorney is either equal to them in age or 10 years older, as an example, or they had no idea they were appointed power of attorney. So my other caveat to you would be talk to those individuals and check in and make sure they want to stand in your place. Sometimes it can be difficult, particularly with power of attorney for healthcare, that you have someone who's relatively physically close, because that they may be called upon to be more physically present. It isn't mandatory, but someone who lives 2,000 miles away and hasn't seen you in 10 years may not be the most wisely dedicated individual for that power of attorney for healthcare. Just a consideration as you set this up. So the Advanced Healthcare Directive, this is a critical part of getting your legal house in order. It is typically in line with creating a will or a trust, as it might be. It's just another coverage for that will be able to speak to your wishes, your wants, another coverage of your desires. The concern we have with an Advanced Healthcare Directive is it's a planning document. It plans your needs. You'll see the next bullet point we have here is the POLST, or the Physician's Orders for Life-Sustaining Treatment. This is also a document that is necessary in this day and age and highly recognized by the medical institutions. You can see it is a physician order for treatment. So, and in our next slide, we do have a copy of this item so that you can get a visual of that. Both of these documents are invaluable, but the one that the emergency personnel, either EMS at your home, if you have to call 911, or emergency room admit with a cataclysmic concern, there is not a professional in that arena that's going to kind of glance through the 7 pages of an advanced healthcare directive and try to just discern what your wishes are. What they do want to do is go directly to the POLST to see what are the choices, what's the focus, are we a DNR, are we selective care, comfort care, etc. So again, we'll go into that in a minute, but both of these documents are really critical as you go forward and get your legal house in order. And a trust, do you need one? We will not and cannot advise you, but I think again, if you have assets of any nature, it is really important to have an attorney advise you on the value and the importance of a trust. All of these documents would be, that we've previously mentioned, would be encapsulated into that trust document and then disseminated to the designated individuals that will be a part of your legal world. Again, you create these documents and I encourage you to review them from time to time. I went out not long ago to go do an assessment, delightful family, and sat down with the mom and daughter, and we talked about the trust, and out came the trust, and the trust was 21 years old. The Advanced Healthcare Directive was 21 years old. Dad was long gone. It appointed dad in place of mom and mom in place of dad. Oh boy, we just needed to really get them back in speed and get them back up to snuff in regards to timing of these documents. So a periodic look at these documents is really invaluable. That doesn't mean monthly or even semi-annually, but as status changes and as players change, would really encourage you to take a look at these. Once every few years would be very valuable, etc. So that's one portion of planning for the future, getting that legal house in order, as it might be. So here you can see a copy of this pink POLST form. It's bright pink. It actually has some dialogue on the back side too, but the front side is the important side. And this is a recognized document that most of our physicians, while they may not bring it to your attention, when you bring it to their attention, they'll say, oh yeah, I know the POLST, let me sign that for you. It does need a signature by the physician, so they're going to talk with you about your choices. There, as you can hopefully see on the screen here, there's A, B, C. You can have, do full resuscitation, do not resuscitate, full treatment, selective treatment, etc. Lots of room for very specific answers to your wishes, direction. The bottom line is, however, if you are either the power of attorney and you have someone who is not cognitively intact, you would be signing this document on their behalf, and you will get a physician's signature on this document as well. This document then will go into your medical delivery system. So if you are with Kaiser, Mercy, Sutter, Davis, whomever you are with, you would want to get a copy of this document scanned into their system so that when you land either in their office or at their emergency landing, they would have this in their system. A couple other quick caveats on this. This is an important document. If you are power of attorney, I would take a picture of this document and have this on my phone. Or in my repertoire so that I can refer to it when I'm contacted because my loved one or the individual I'm responsible for is in need of an answer, as it might be. I've got that information right in front of me. To run home and open up a file cabinet and check the POLST may take too much time. So this document is really a lifeline for everyone. And again, I'll get a little personal here and tell you that I have a 37-year-old daughter, excuse me. She has a Post. I have a Post. My daughter is at home and not healthy, and her Post is on our refrigerator because that is where the emergency personnel go to. When we've had to call 911, they come in the house. The first venture they make is they go to my daughter's room to check her out, but they always peel back one of their emergency personnel who is in the kitchen looking for the Post. So they get some direction. That's the universal location for this item. And I'll tell you that we carry a copy of everyone's Post, all of our clients, on our HIPAA protected phones through an app that we have that's HIPAA protected, I should say, not the phone itself. But this is just a great document. So the Advanced Healthcare Directive is very personalized. It speaks to a lot of broad resources, etc. However, the Post is a much more universal document, and yet it can be contoured to your wishes if you take a peek at it. So I really encourage anyone and everyone to have these Posts and have these in place. The other thing we feel is very, very important for you when it comes to getting things in order is a toolkit. And you can see on this page as well, this is the front page of the personal toolkit that we as an organization have created. You can certainly reach out to Maureen if you would like a copy of this. It's a lengthy toolkit, but it's really invaluable. But what we found so important about the front page is not only would we encourage you to have the Post on the refrigerator, but we would encourage you to have a current medication list with what is being taken, the date that these were all prescribed, where are they kept, where are the medications kept, who's your pharmacist, who's your doctor, etc., any allergies. So we've created a pretty succinct and specific medication log inside our personal toolkit that, again, is just going to give you some really great tools in the midst of that crisis, because that's all we're talking about is planning for the future. So we love both these documents and encourage you to take a peek at the value of getting both of these in place for your loved one or yourself, as it might be. Got to think about those finances, most definitely. Hopefully you've already established yourself with a trusted financial advisor. If not, please feel free to reach out to us. We are so happy to lead you to individuals that we have had great feedback from. Work with someone that you feel comfortable with and feel is honest with you. Make sure, again, if you're going to put someone in charge of your power of attorney for finances, they should know who your financial advisor is. Again, they don't have to share a tremendous amount of information with you, but it would be really very, very important to know, who do I contact should we have to track down resources, get bills paid. And we had this exact experience, folks, when a couple of months ago, we had a client, delightful couple, childless couple, who just doing a wonderful job. The husband is the primary caregiver for a wife who's pretty confused, and husband's very alert. He ended up in the hospital, 12 days in the hospital. And we had two challenges. We knew that his documents and his life was in order, but they were locked in a file cabinet in his office, and he had the keys in his pants pocket at the hospital at the height of COVID. Now, here we are trying to get in to get the keys to unlock the cupboard so that we could see who's his power of attorney, what's his financial situation, how do we pay to keep things going, because his wife was not capable of doing that. So again, we need to make sure that we know where things are, that our our power of attorney individuals are very aware of where those documents are and how they would access those. The other thing that's really important, make it your mission to understand who pays for what things cost, the reality of what things cost. And we're going to go into some pretty good detail as in a few slides down the road that are really going to give you, the next one coming up, as a matter of fact, that's really going to give you some today's figures of what you're looking at. in regards to bringing help in the home and making things work appropriately per your wishes, as it might be. Um, so let's take a peek at the reality of what things cost. So these are some figures that we pulled from Genworth as an example, a good financial institution. And so we felt just giving you some really good solid numbers may be very helpful as you try to contemplate, where do we fall? Where do we live? Where do we end up? And why? What, and more importantly. So the note here, the interesting thing, Genworth notes that 7 out of 10 people who are older than age 65 will need some kind of long-term care support in their aging process. So yeah, there's 3 of us who are going to skirt by that, but the rest of us probably going to fall in that majority and need some type of help long-term care-wise. So what have we done to support that? But then only 44% of adults under the age of 60 have discussed this issue and talked about it with their spouse, with their significant other, with their adult children, with the adult children talking to the parents. So kind of a concern. If we're not talking about it, it's going to be very assaultive and insulting when you actually get to that point where you have to make that decision. So take a peek at this. If you are going to end up in a nursing home, you would be looking at a minimum, and I think these are in California, I think these are kind of generous figures, to be honest. In a private room, paying privately, you would be spending at a minimum $13,600 a month for a visit to a skilled nursing home. In a semi-private room, just shy of $10,000 a month. Now, most of us go to skilled care or a nursing home, hopefully to rehabilitate under the Medicare dollar that we get through our Medicare A and B and supplement. But some individuals have such medical challenges that they end up living in a nursing home, not necessarily from a rehabilitative perspective, but more from a medical maintenance perspective. So you would be looking at pricing like this, and I don't know, this is significant. These are significant dollars and significant costs. And if we have both mom and dad still alive, or spouse and partner still alive, what if we were to double that and look at that as a cost? In our practice, because we are all private pay, we have many clients, bless their hearts, who are financially pretty strong and solid, and even they would find this a very tough pill to swallow. So again, looking at skilled nursing, realizing it's a pretty costly event outside of that rehabilitative stay. And let me just briefly touch on that rehabilitative stay. So if you have an incident or event and you end up at the hospital and you qualify for a short stay in skilled nursing, they will let you know that you have up to, and those are the key words, up to 100 days in a skilled nursing facility to go through the rehabilitative process, or physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapies, etc. The average rehabilitative duration of stay in California is 12.8 days. So they say up to 100, but no, very rarely do you sit for that full $100 or 100 day under the Medicare dollar coverage. So again, it's when you cannot physically and health-wise go back home, or you're precluded from assisted living, et cetera, that you would have to stay in that skilled nursing facility at these rates that we're showing here. The next level of care is assisted living or residential care facility for the elderly. These run the gamut in our Sacramento area and all throughout California, anywhere in size from 4 beds to 1,000 beds. This is a social model of care, not a medical model of care. However, we see just enormous medical transactions going on here. In the state of California, Sacramento area in particular, an average 1-bedroom private room or apartment runs at a minimum $5,400 a month. It's quite possible you may be tacking on the level of care or the cost of care that you might need as well. So you could be running anywhere upwards from $5,400 to 75, 85, 95. We see them at $10,000 a month. So assisted living is wonderful because it is that nice social model of care, but this too is pricey. And there is nothing currently that supports this financially other than long-term care insurance, if you were fortunate enough to purchase or buy into a circumstance such as that and able to access it, or perhaps you have some aid and attendance, the VA aid and attendance program, etc., some financial support mechanisms. But the lion's share of all assisted living and or residential care facilities are private pay. So these two come out of your pocket. Again, all the more reason you want to look at what are our resources in regards to the possibility that we might need this type of care and at the cost that it currently runs at. Another level of care is in-home care, and I'm very familiar with in-home care. I think it's where everybody wants to be. Everybody says, well, I don't want to move. I want to stay home where it's home, it's comfortable, it's familiar. I know what it is. I know how it works. But not all homes are conducive to what we need, and not all costs are conducive to what we can afford. So the example we bring you here is in-home care, companion care, again, all private pay, nothing supported by our federal or state government. If you were to utilize just 4 hours a day, 7 days a week at $30 an hour, that's a pretty going rate, you would be spending $3,750 a month for that care. And that you may seem to think, oh, I can do that. Okay, that'll be good. But here's my caveat. Take a look at that. There are actually 24 hours in a day, and we are only quoting 4 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to scare you all or assault you all, letting you know that if you had to go to 24/7 round the clock in-home care, utilizing an agency, and I have a strong thought about agencies. I'm a huge fan of that for liability purposes. You are looking at a price tag of anywhere between $20,000 and $22,000 a month to have 24-hour round-the-clock care, taking care of you at home. Again, I think all of us want to stay in the home we work so long and hard to enjoy, but sometimes it's out of reach financially. So talking through what your wishes are, what the realities of your budget to support those wishes might be, and how you actualize that is a big part of setting the plan as it might be as for your future. And then our other category here that we want to bring to your attention would be adult day care. And these are adult day settings. They're just coming back to bloom now that COVID is relaxing a little bit and we are able to get these settings back up and running. But these are wonderful options for daytime support for your loved one. I always hesitate. I think some people are a bit insulted by this, the idea that it's daycare. This is not children daycare. This is adult day settings or daycare. And you can see as an example that we're quoting here $89 per day for a 21-day stint. If you were to use a Monday through Tuesday, a Monday through Thursday, or Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday kind of scenario, you will find that that's going to run you about $2,000. And that does get you the respite from the day-to-day, hour-to-hour support that you might be providing somebody. But you can see too, there's some costs attached to this, and you'll find very little support. Again, once again, here's my mantra from Medicare. It's a wonderful system, but it really doesn't speak to housing and all of the other elements of the aging process. Certainly speaks to doctoring, hospitalization, medications, etc., but not to housing and oversight for those who might need that oversight. So a lot of information there, but very accurate information and very valuable for you to have that perspective. So next step might be, from our perspective, is that you do a health check-in, check-up, or just an overall health check, just to see where you might be in your journey of aging. And many of us are able to say that we can just, plow along without any major problems, but always good to be in check and making sure that we're aware of our relationships and our procedures that we need to pursue to take good care of our health. So we really encourage you to establish a good working relationship with your healthcare provider. Your primary doctor is key and critical in your ability to get to see that individual and any of the specialists that you may need as the body continues to age and goes through that process. Really important to have a good relationship with that individual. And I encourage you, if you don't have a good relationship, it is worthy of trying to find an individual who you feel you can communicate with. I know docs are busy these days, and the healthcare delivery system is so burdened by insurance driving so much of what the doctors are able to do. But I would hearken to you that we have had the luxury and the joy of finding some really good primary care physicians who really do listen and who do care and act upon your requests and listen to your concerns. Really important to attend regular health checkups and procedures. Um, we had an adult son the other day, bless his heart. You got to notice that it was his mom's annual Medicare checkup. And he wrote to us email and said, is this really necessary? Mom's seen a lot of doctors lately. And yes, mom's seen specialists for the fracture of the hip. Mom's seen a specialist for the COPD that she has. Mom has not had a general checkup in a year, and that's why Medicare offers them. So yes, we should have those regular checkups. That means we get our colonoscopies done. We check for cataracts and glaucomas and macular degeneration. We check all elements of our body functioning so that we know that we're in as good a health as we can possibly be in. And perhaps we'll catch something before it gets too far out of hand. And easier to address something earlier on than later on. So we really encourage you to stay regular. And I'm going to throw another thought out here. For those of you who are perhaps the more primary caregiver in your relationship, and I'm talking more about partners or spouses, etc., I want that healthier caregiving spouse to make sure that you don't fall through the cracks. You're so busy contending with and dealing with a loved one that you're focused on who doesn't maybe have the tools and all the ability that you might have to keep the home fires running. Make sure you don't get put on the back burner. The good of one does not outweigh the good of many. You are as critical and important in this equation as anybody. You know how the airlines tell us, you put your mask on first and then you help others. You get your checkups first and help others along the way. I'm no good to anybody if I'm not running at my maximum capacity as well. We think it's really helpful to bring an advocate to your appointments. I don't know about you, but I don't always hear everything the first time round. And so having an advocate, having a scribe, having someone who will come with you, who will help you make up the questions before you go see the doctor so you don't miss anything. Making sure, again, that you and your loved one or the person you're advocating for get your voice heard is really, really important, and that you maximize the time that you have with your physician. As we've talked about, their time is so very limited, and most of them have the hand on the doorknob the whole time. They're trying to get out. So you've got to be sharp. You've got to be in there, and somebody keeping the details and scribing. This is a lot of what we do. We then do a recap to the family and the responsible parties, taking the client off the hook. They could absorb it. We were able to talk about it on the ride home and sort of discuss what what their concerns might be. Did they have questions? Maybe they didn't have time to ask them. They arose after the doctor left. We had this opportunity to sort of talk it through as it might be. Again, really important to make sure that you have your medication list updated. Every list you make should have today, the date that it was created on it, and just knowing, and it's important to have milligram amounts and dosages on that medication list too. I know that the medical delivery system should have this information in their system, but sometimes we're seeing a Sutter cardiologist and a Davis neurologist, and maybe they aren't talking. So really, really important to make sure that everybody's communicating and that that information is shared. You have different docs prescribing different medications. We want to make sure we have a cohesive, up-to-date medication list. Your teeth are as important as any organ in your body. If we have an infection in the mouth, we could have an infection in the body or the bloodstream. So keep up with your teeth. Keep up with your eye health. Again, I was taken aback. I'm not going to divulge exactly how old I am, but I'm in my 60s. And I went the other day for just a routine eye checkup, and good Lord, I have a cataract. I can't have a cataract. My mother had a cataract. So again, but I was grateful that someone found it early enough. It's worthy of monitoring. I know that it's not that my eyes are just tired. There's a legitimate reason for this. So again, being mindful, the last thing I want to do is lose my eye health. I'm an avid reader. I want to be able to read, even if I have to get into large print at some point. No shame in that. I want to be able to read and enjoy that information that I get lost in. So keeping an eye on your health, or on your eye health is very, very important. Check your hearing. So I can't tell you enough how very, very important it is to get that hearing in check. I know hearing aids are expensive. They don't always work the way we wish that they would work, but oftentimes poor hearing could be misconstrued as cognitive issue decline. And when in fact, it's simply a hearing transaction, a hearing deficit, not a cognitive deficit. So good to get clarification on that and utilize those checks and measures. Again, your hearing is invaluable to you, just like your eyesight, your teeth, your body. Make sure that you get that hearing checked periodically. And then ultimately, the health of your brain matters so very much. It is so important to keep that brain healthy, keep it as active as possible. Now, I teach a class for the state of California, and we talk a lot about dementia and some concerns, et cetera, in regards to dementia. And people are just taken aback with the idea that long-term depression can lend itself to dementia. And so keeping that brain in order and checked up and making sure it's functioning. We're learning now, and the current theory or practice is that what is going on in the heart is going on in the head. So we want to take care of our heart, we want to take care of our brain, we want to make sure that we're checking all systems, making sure that all systems are a go, as it might be. So here's a little bit more about brain health and why you would want not to neglect your brain health. Again, there's just study after study that says keep the mind and body active. And this is a tough order. I know we're tired at the end of the day, and the body may not feel, as it had always felt, and it's harder to get out and run those miles or even take those walks that we were so accustomed to previously, but they are so valuable. We don't have to go a million miles at a breakneck speed. We just need to keep moving. When we do, the blood flow is so much more conducive to our health and well-being. So let's keep that brain in order. Look for changes. Look for those small, mildly undiscernible changes. And families can look for that. Adults can look for that. I sadly went to go visit my mom one time when she was, as it turned out, getting closer to the end of her life than we had ever wished. But she came to pick me up at the airport, and I noticed this just ever so slight droop on the side of her mouth. And I was really taken aback. And then the next thing, she drove like a maniac. She was in her late 60s. And wow, Mom, we don't have to get home in 4 minutes. We can get home in 15. Let's go normally. I made a comment by the end of the night, and I thought maybe she'd had a slight stroke. Again, we had that little downfall. We ended up at the doctor's office, and sadly it wasn't a stroke. That would have probably been nice news. It was unfortunately a brain tumor. And my brother was just taken aback. He didn't see it because he saw her every single day. I was coming every month, and it was just easy for me to see. We got right into the professionals and attacking, um, making sure that we had every tool at her dispense and her disposal to try to fight some of that brain health as it might be. So work with your professionals on this. So many of our clients say, well, mom's confused. What's the point? Why get a diagnosis? It's dementia. But a diagnosis is invaluable. It doesn't mean it's going to reverse it. But it does mean we might be able to approach it. We might be able to predict what her journey might look like. So really, really important to get the right professional diagnosing at the right time. So many individuals are facing some mental health issues, particularly with our social isolation, and depression in this past year. I think, again, COVID really brought on just an exacerbated element of social isolation, and depression. And we're seeing the outcome. We're seeing the byproduct of that to this day. So really important that we keep those social connections, that we have that connection to the world as it might be. And that if there is depression, if there is concern in that regard, there's no shame in addressing that. There's no shame in medicating that. There's no shame in curing or approaching that with that physical activity, with that change of plan, with some medication support in that regard. Highly recommend that. No shame in that. The hard part, this being a generation that really doesn't cotton to medication so easily. So often they say, I'm good, I'm fine, I'll pull myself up by my bootstraps. But if we can give them the grace of being able to say, yeah, I don't feel great. This is scary. I'm sad. I'm lonely. We need to talk about things and help our loved ones try to reach out and get the assistance they need. Asking for help. There is just absolutely no shame in asking for help. Again, here we are, this fiercely independent society. Again, you're born, and the first thing you're attempting to do is work toward that independence. We go from, being able to hold our own bottle to being able to cry, to walking, to running, to, kindergarten and high school and college and careers and partnerships and marriages, and and then all of a sudden we're told and we feel this need to be dependent and ask for help. It's a hard thing. I'm preaching to the choir, I know, but I am the worst at this. It is okay to say, I can't do all of this. We need help. Nothing wrong with that. And so formulate those support systems, formal support systems, informal support systems, create those mechanisms, get that in place. So very important to make it through this journey of aging, critical, etc. So many of our mental health issues, particularly for this generation and likely for generations to come, are undiagnosed. They are lifelong histories and habits that we just don't always address and always attend to. So we see a lot of our clients not only coming to us with an element of dementia, but also an element of a mental health concern. And so we're addressing that more and more these days. Again, I hope we can soon lose that stigma of mental health and tackle that the best way that we can. I hope our generations to come do a much better job with that. But in the meantime, we have this opportunity to get proper diagnoses and to address that support and that concern. Dementias and mental health being one element, dementia and Alzheimer's, 1 in 3 seniors in our world these days die of Alzheimer's or some other diagnosed dementia issue. So it's prevalent. The Alzheimer's Association tells us that it is going to do nothing but grow and expand. I don't think we're getting worse. I think we're getting better at diagnosing and identifying. So please don't worry. By nature of discussing it doesn't mean you're going to get it. you can't catch it. It's not as if we can cough and come down with dementia, but tackling it, understanding it, knowing it, learning about it, getting your support mechanisms in place and keeping that brain as healthy as possible is going to help you to get through these challenges of aging and having a plan so that you know how to tackle these elements. So let's talk a little bit about fact versus fiction. And I think this is a really helpful slide, and I hope you can get some good talking points or good detail from this. So yes, we have Medicare benefits. You hit that 65 year mark, and everybody's excited because we have Medicare. Well, it doesn't mean that we have everything paid for and, oh, good, they'll take care of us now till the grave. Medicare, as I've mentioned, the reality check of Medicare is that it provides for medical issues. It provides for doctoring and medications and a plethora of things. It provides nothing in regards to housing. So very important that you understand what Medicare is all about. It provides nothing in regards to in-home companion support for your housing. Yes, on occasion, they'll send a nurse out after you've been hospitalized or in a skilled nursing facility doing some rehabilitative approach. But that nurse is going to come for 10 minutes, check things out, make sure you're okay, and pat you on the back and say, keep going, you're doing great. So again, nothing in the home, nothing in the housing component will be covered by your Medicare benefits. Medi-Cal, this is our benefit packet that is available to those who are fiscally frail. And yes, I said fiscally, not physically frail, but fiscally frail. So those individuals who have not had the benefit of earning for a lifetime or have not been able to save reserves for a lifetime and now need the support of Medi-Cal will potentially get some financial support. They will get their medical elements covered, and they may get some housing support. But I will tell you, in the state of California, the housing support will exclusively be geared at a skilled nursing capacity or the assisted living waiver program. And these are just two elements of housing. And these are the only elements where Medi-Cal could come into play. So an example would be if you are physically fairly healthy, maybe you've lived to the point of age of 90, 92, you've worked through a lot of those savings, but you're still doing pretty well. Yet you can't be home alone, and you need some physical support, and you are out of money. You would be headed toward a skilled nursing facility, which is a medical model of care. Even though you don't have huge medical needs, that would be the housing component that would be available to you. And one of the frustrations I get with lots of attorneys, to be honest, is you'll go visit an attorney and they'll say, oh, well, let's get you in a position where all your monies are hidden over here, or it's all designated and the government won't look at it. And then you can use Medi-Cal to pay for your services. Well, what they don't really tell you, or they don't fully understand, is that Medi-Cal then at that point means skilled nursing. And I don't think there's probably any of us who aspire to end our life and spend those last few years living in a skilled nursing facility if we don't have to. And I don't mean to pick on skilled nursing facilities. They provide a wonderful service when needed. But let's be honest and realize that Medi-Cal has very limited opportunities and limited benefits. And it's really important that you understand the difference between Medicare, Medi-Cal, and who provides what and how that will work to your advantage. So we talked a little bit about in-home care, bringing someone into the home. And I'll be honest with you folks, I am personally, I'm very clear on this. It is lovely to get family to help. It's lovely to get a neighbor to come by occasionally. And you may even think it's lovely to put an ad in the newspaper and bring someone into your home to help you a few hours a week. Very nice idea. The reality is, who are you bringing into your home? California is a very litigious community and society. Someone comes into your home, looks around and sees a beautiful home and thinks, ooh, there might be an outcome here for me. They walk in that home, they trip over the throw rug, they break their arm. And who's the responsible party? You are. You are now an employer when you're hiring people on your own. You should be doing payroll. You should have workers' compensation. You should have liability coverage. Not only now have you more responsibilities because now you're an employer, but you also have to make sure that those individuals show up on time, that they leave on time. What do you do when they call in sick and they aren't able to provide you the care? So we're just really strong believers that agency support, where they are trained, where they are background checked, where they are the responsible party. If someone were to call in ill and not be able to meet your needs, they would be able to find someone to replace that individual. That's their job. So in-home care is wonderful. I know that everybody feels, I want to stay home. I want to be, supported in that regard. It can be challenging. And again, Medicare is not going to step in here and support you in that capacity. Independent and assisted living, we've talked a little bit about this, but these are two areas of that residential care facility living where they are a social model of care, but they do a lot of medical support as well. So you want to look into these and find out, and again, who pays for what? What's the general premise here? What does it look like? How's it going to work? Better to have this tracked down and realized, and then so that when you are in that crisis, or if you are in that crisis, sorry about that, glass is half empty there. If and when you are in that crisis, that you have an opportunity to make a quick decision and an intelligent, educated decision. We really, really strongly believe that some legwork ahead of time will really help you in the middle of any crisis that might ensue. What is memory care? There's often a lot of questions about memory care, as it might be. This is geared at those individuals who have some cognitive issues, who may need some additional cueing, may need a safe environment where they cannot elope or leave from because their safety awareness is not as strong as it should be. It is very different. It can be encapsulated in assisted living, but typically memory care is its own entity, as it might be. And again, all private pay and given to you from that angle and paid for on that private dollar, as it might be. And then again, the skilled or rehab stay, we think we talked about that, but be prepared. Again, that's not an area or probably anybody wants to spend a tremendous amount of time. Certainly want to get your rehabilitative dollar out of it. Squeak every dollar out that you can and every service out that you can. But be reminded, our hospitals are really geared at acute care at this moment, at this time. And so they patch up whatever problem brought you to them, and then they get you out to a skilled environment to do the follow-up and to do the rehabilitative component. So there may be some resources that you may be eligible and qualify for. One in particular is the Veterans Aid and Attendance program. We're really fond of this program. I know enough to be dangerous about this program, but I don't know it intimately, but I do know how to get you connected to an individual who might know about this. This was a program created in 1957. It dedicates monies to support individuals who are veterans during a period of conflict, to support them either in the home or in an assisted living or residential care facility setting. And there are very specialized individuals who pursue these programs and can help you with answers to these programs, and we can guide you to those individuals. There may be Medi-Cal, you may qualify for that, but that's a very heavily income qualified threshold, and you must be very low income to qualify for Medi-Cal support. Same thing with in-home supportive services. This is an element of support that we get from the state and federal government. They may come into the home for a very select number of hours, but again, it's geared at very low income individuals who we know cannot take on some of the more pricey private pay environments. You will never see in-home supportive services a lot, typically more than 300 hours in a month of care. So this is never intended to be 24/7 round the clock care. These three elements, the veterans aid and attendance, the Medi-Cal, and in-home supportive services, serve a very small portion of our population. Now, some of you may have been very wise and were very fortunate to plan for long-term care insurance. I applaud you. Sometimes getting it activated can be an act of Congress and very difficult. So make sure that you understand what your long-term care insurance is all about. And that does it apply to skilled nursing? Does it apply to in-home care? Does it apply to residential care facilities? What's the activation clause? What's the elimination period? Can you use private caregivers? Do you need to use agencies? There's a lot of challenges that go along with long-term care insurance. But again, for those of you who were able to accumulate that opportunity and manage that, I applaud you, and we're happy to guide you to someone who can help you activate that and make that happen. It works very well, definitely. Real quickly, the reality of most of what we get here is long-term or is private pay. It can be challenging. So your private pay, your savings, your retirement is really the reality of what is going to pay for your support as you age along. So saving every dime was very valuable and very worthwhile. I encourage you to realize that that's what you're going to be dipping into as you go through these phases of aging, as it might be. So here we suggest that you create a toolbox, you gather your resources before you need them. Again, at the point of crisis, it is not the best time to gather your resources. It's better to do it in advance, tuck it away, and revisit it when you find the crisis surfaces. Understanding the cost, hopefully in this presentation, we've given you a good insight to some of the costs. We're happy to fine tune that even further if you have questions, as it might be. Really encourage you to research in-home care providers, making sure you know who you want to come in your home, meet them, know them, have them on your resource list so that you can activate them when and if you need them. Very important to vet them ahead of time. Tour communities and facilities. Nothing wrong with looking. So that you know what your tone and your taste might be. I know at one point we contemplated putting my mom into a facility, and while my mom could have afforded the brassiest, glassiest, shiniest, new, over-the-top facility, my mom was a wash and wear kind of gal. She would not have appreciated knowing, being in that environment. She would have really preferred an environment that was much more down to earth for her. So touring, looking through your loved one's eyes, not through your eyes, as to what might be best for the loved one that you're advocating for. You want to make sure that you are turning to the experts in your community, the Alzheimer's Association, Parkinson's Association. I'm a huge fan, of course, of Del Oro Caregiver Resource Center. What are your legal services? Area on Aging, elder care management. We are all part of this community and these experts that can help you as you try to find the resources and lay out your plan and put these contacts in your toolbox and make sure that they're available to you. Periodically check to make sure they're still in business. I can tell you elder care management will be in business hopefully for a while to come. So you've got us for the duration. And then again, contacting senior centers, adult day programs, just reaching out to see what the tone, what the cadence, what are the opportunities at this point as we walk through things as it might be. Here's the COVID-19 concern. Again, we're in the crisis. Always best, the crisis, I apologize, the crisis has hit. Now we get that broken hip, that broken shoulder, that new diagnosis of congestive heart failure. We've now got crisis on top of crisis. So let's have those tough discussions with your decision makers. Talk about things. What do you want? Express your wishes. Make sure everybody knows this is what I want. This is how I want it to go. I really implore you to have those tough decisions or tough conversations. They're just invaluable. They're the gift you give your loved ones. When you're making a plan, you should have plan A, B, C, just in backups in case things go willy-nilly. Designate your advocates. If you're going to use personal friends or if you're going to use professionals, check with those individuals beforehand to make sure that they are willing to take on the responsibility of your needs and that they're a partner with you in that regard. And then periodically review those plans and review those documents as it might be. Again, don't let them get out of season as it might be with designees and plans that just don't actually exist at this stage. For your loved ones, we're huge, and probably we spend more time than anybody would really like us to, but we love talking about the end of life because it's the gift, again, that you can give to your loved ones. Don't let your loved ones guess what you might want. I had a 96-year-old grandmother who, she had nothing but a little bit of time on her hands in 96 years. But when she passed, she told us exactly what the salads were that were going to be served at her luncheon during her service. What hymns would be played, what she would be wearing, what she would take and what she wouldn't take, etc. Have those conversations. That's the gift you can give. What kind of care do you want? Who will be your voice if you cannot speak for yourself? Do you understand the difference between hospice services, palliative care services? What does that look like? So investigating those. Do you want life-sustaining treatments? Do you want medical or mechanical interventions, etc.? Again, don't want anyone guessing at what they might want. Really important to talk about your final wishes as it might be. Burial, cremation, types of services. Have we prepaid for those arrangements? Or do you want to prepay for those arrangements, etc.? So we really encourage you. I know they're not fun, but you do them, you put them away, and you enjoy one another following that, knowing that you each have shared your desires, your wishes, etc. There are some great programs out there, the Conversation Project, 5 Wishes, Be Remembered. Looking into these are all, if you Google them, we have further information if you want them. These are great resources to help you get these conversations started and to bring them full circle as it might be. Everything that has a beginning has an ending, us humans included. So better that we make peace with that, and all should be well and will be well. So I encourage you again to talk about your wishes and plan and be ready for those, for the twists and turns that aging really brings us. This should be a glorious time, not a burdened time. And so if we can make those wishes known and if we can plan a little bit, it will actually be a glorious time. It won't be a burdensome time, other than the fact that we're going to have some challenges. But if we're all on the same page and if we're all communicating, I think we'll take some of those worries and concerns away. I can't put you in a bubble and protect you forever and ever. We had a client the other day that we went to go visit, and she proudly announced she's going to live till she's 143. She's 89 currently. I thought her optimism and her positivity was wonderful. I don't think she's going to make it to 143. I don't know that she wants to make it to 143, but she has her ducks in a row. She's made her wishes known, and away she goes. So we'll support her if it's to 143. Well, I don't think I'll make it till she's 143, but if she does, more power to her. So, all righty. Well, that is us in a nutshell. Our opportunity here.